order, let's stand and recite the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, liberty and justice. Let's pray. Lord, we believe that you have equipped us with unique gifts and talents for this meeting. May we use them to bring about your will and accomplish our goals. A brief moment for your own intentions. Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Wazorek made the motion. Leggett seconded to approve the agenda as presented. Any discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Have an opportunity for public comment. Is there anybody from the public wish to speak before the commission? Not seeing anybody who wants to speak before the commission, so let's move on to reports. No one from the Register of Deeds office, Sheriff's office.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Sheriff Pat West. Not a whole lot, just status quo with the Sheriff's Office. Our numbers are about what they were last year at this time. Civil has been up and down a little bit, but about steady on that as well. Calls for service, or dispatch calls for service are up. About 100 calls, 150 or so. But overall, things are going well, going smooth. We are full staffed right now for deputies. We have one individual that has given his resignation. He'll be done on the 4th of April, but I think we've got a plan to fill that pretty quickly, hopefully. Dispatch is doing well. I believe we're still one down there. We're working through that situation, and the jail is doing really well. Captain Dale is staying on top of things over there. Got a few things to get shuffled around, but we've addressed it, and we're moving forward with it. So, what else we got here? Just the billing from the jail. Cheryl added another PowerPoint. I think that's the next one. And it's a breakdown of all the inmates that we actually house throughout the county, or for the different counties. Those numbers there are actually days each inmate stayed for a total. So, but you can see the majority is Meade County, and then it drops off to Butte, and then miscellaneous through the other counties. But that seems to be going well. Again, Caleb is doing really well up there, and all the COs are taking care of business as usual. Only other thing is Deputy Johns is working through Homeland Security, hopefully to secure a little bit of money. That Homeland Security money has been cut down quite a bit, also with the highway safety money as well. So he's working through that. I believe that meeting is today, and we'll move forward with seeing what we can obtain. Overall, things are positive. Things are going well, so no issues.
Wouldn't you hate it if I didn't have a question?
Of course.
First of all, I meant to ask JJ when we had our little subcommittee meeting over there a couple days ago. I noticed parked in the jail parking lot was a gray pickup with paper plates. Is that one of our new? It's not.
No, I'm not sure what that is. Maybe an employee got a new truck or something. I don't know.
Well, no, it wasn't an employee. Okay. The other thing was this morning I read how Roden signed that bill that you could carry in a bar. Now, I'm not naive enough to think that we haven't had guns in bars before, but are you going to have any suggestions about that bill and what bars may consider during the rally?
Well, we've had these talks before in the past. If you sell 51% of your sales are food, you can carry a firearm in an establishment that sells alcohol. So right now that's in place. When it comes to whether or not we're going to, enforce something like that, that would be on a different situation. But
no, I don't mean you going in there and checking and doing all that. What I meant was, I thought there was a provision in that bill that perhaps local bars could say you can't carry inside during a certain period, like you can't wear a patch.
Right. Yep. Gang colors.
Gang colors.
And that would be according to establishment.
Right.
I assume that they could restrict that if they wanted to.
I guess my question is, I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah.
Would you have any recommendation for those owners?
Well, we could have those discussions. I'm not going to lean one way or the other on this.
Yeah.
Because I'm a big Second Amendment guy too.
But I know. I am too.
Alcohol and firearms don't mix.
I know it doesn't make a lot of.
And that's something that we should have discussions with for sure.
So Belfouche just got they just broke ground on their new police department.
Yes.
Does that have 911 dispatch stuff in it or not? Do you know?
No, it does not. Dispatch is done through the county.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if they've worked together to maybe find office space in there. I haven't heard from Sheriff Lamphere on that, but currently the sheriff has that.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything except that they broke ground on it, and I was like, it's a big building, and I wasn't sure if they had a different.
Yep.
Belfouche also, their landfill has got a big burn. Reminds me of when Gerald McFarland had a big burn, and those don't go out quickly or easily. So, are your pickups coming?
Well, we're hoping they're going to be here by the end of the month, but you know how that is.
Okay.
I'm guessing more sometime in April, but we'll see.
Okay.
Any other questions for Sheriff West? Thank you, Sheriff West.
Thank you.
State's Attorney's Office.
Michelle Bordewick, Meade County State's Attorney. What you have up in front of you are our February numbers. You can see February was slow considering the past few years. So that's basically allowed us to go to warrant requests that have to get processed. So we had a very long afternoon with grand jury, so we could get those warrant requests that we received out and active. On the next page, just see, continuing, we have files that we closed in the office during the month of February. Our main cases are DUIs and drugs, and that's always reflected in the numbers. And then our last page there is the 5-year case comparison, and that just gives you an idea of what we've been seeing, again, DUIs and drugs primarily, throughout the month of February in the past few years. Are there any questions?
So if February was slow, hopefully this month is slow too?
I don't say it out loud. Let's hope.
Any other questions for our State's Attorney?
Well, thank you. Have a good morning.
Thanks for coming today, Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
Our Treasurer's Office.
Good morning, Robin Shrake, Meade County Treasurer. In front of you, you'll be able to see our numbers for February. I would like to explain how we came up with these numbers just because it's a little different this month. The first column under South Dakota cars is our old motor vehicle system that we had. That was numbers from the 1st of February until February 13th when we closed down that system. Then 605 Drive comes into the next column beside it. That's from the 17th of February to the 28th of February. Then I took those two numbers to get the third column, which is a combination of South Dakota Cars and 605 Drive. Then, of course, the year-to-date would be a conglomerate of January numbers along with February numbers, and then, of course, the previous year numbers. Are there any questions on that?
Is this the time to ask how 605 Drive is doing?
We've had some, and Earl can probably attest to that too. He came in during a 605 Drive when we first started out. We are having some issues. We are seeing that some of the things didn't flow over as smoothly from 605 or from South Dakota Cars to 605 Drive. One thing that didn't flow over is driver's licenses. Occasionally, we'll get a customer that comes in and we can't find them in the system. We have to put them into the system. Even though they might have been a resident of South Dakota all their life, we need to get a copy of their driver's license and get them all put back into that system again. Another thing that we're seeing is some of our inventory. On the 14th of February, we had to send in all of our license plate numbers, any stickers, whether it was snowmobiles, boats, non-resident ATV permits. We had to send all those numbers in. Some of those did not get into the system. So when we started doing out-of-state, a non-resident ATV permit, we didn't have our numbers in there. Our inventory was somebody else's inventory. So we had to wait 2 weeks for that to get fixed. Commercial license plates, we got a new shipment in last week, or 2 weeks ago, I should say, and we finally were able to use those new commercial license plates yesterday because we were fighting with the state of getting those into our inventory. We're seeing that renewals for personalized plates, we're having some issues with those. We had a veteran's plate that wasn't renewing for us yesterday. The customer was very, very upset at that. When we can't renew these, what we've been doing is giving them 15-day permits until the state can get this resolved. So we've just been not charging them the 15-day permit because they need to be driving on something. We're finding that when we do call into the state, the first few weeks that we had 605 Drive implemented, we might have been like 24 or in the 30s in the wait line. Last week we were in to like 60s and 70s. Yesterday when I called in, it was 110th in line. So that is easily a 4-hour wait. Easily. Because when we were in like 65 in line, it was usually 2.5, 3 hours wait to talk to somebody. What we've been doing down there is having a lot of things that we need to ask the state on, and then we go ahead and ask everybody else, do you have to talk to the state before we hang up, just to make sure all our questions are answered. We're finding that a lot of people who had done title work back in October and November, they still don't have some titles. So, of course, we get called asking, hey, where's our titles? Why isn't this processed? I have this vehicle sold. I've been waiting on a title. It hasn't come yet. A few people have called into the state asking about those titles, and they have said that they've gotten nowhere at the state. Either they can't get through, their calls are dropped, or they're hung up on. And that's them talking, to us about that. I don't know if that's the case, but I know that we've had calls dropped when we called in. We're seeing that we're going through more product, which I brought that up at last time. We have to have a barcode for everything that we do now, which we apply that to the title work. We have barcodes that we have to apply to on paperwork that shows the photocopy of their driver's license or their social security card. We started scanning everything in our system for title work or anything that's driver's license, social security card, so we have it in our file on the network, or in the server, I should say. So if they happen to misplace something, that we can get that to the state. We have helped the state out 6 different occasions of providing them with images, because they're saying that there must be something with this sorter. The barcode goes into, I'm assuming, a big machine, and it sorts it out to titles need to go over here, personalized plates need to go over here. They think there's something off with the machine, so they've called us to get those images. So thank goodness we had those. Other than that, I think what's most frustrating is that we're not getting the stuff fixed. Stuff that was things that were a problem back in 2 weeks ago are still a problem to this day, and we're not seeing any light at the end of the tunnel. And I think that's what's so frustrating.
This is a issue across the state, obviously. It's not just us.
Correct.
Are the treasurers getting together to work with the state on this?
The treasurers have voiced their opinions out. We have a lot of email strings going out. What is everybody else, experiencing too? Yeah. I do know that the state will be observing Good Friday and Easter Monday, so that will be a 4-day weekend for them. Some states do recognize the state holidays for their calendar. Of course, we don't. The states that don't observe the state calendar, they're opting not to do Motor V that day. Do I think that's an option for us? No. I think if we just can't handle one of the transactions, we just need to tell the customer, sorry, the state is down. We'll be more than happy to help you on Tuesday. But I think we keep, because if we don't keep up with it, we just get further behind.
Sure. Are you still have overtime, I'm assuming?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Because it was like half an hour, and I didn't.
Yeah, and we're still at 5:30, 5:45.
Okay. Do you think that we should close earlier?
I don't know if that's going to make a difference. I've always been a customer service all my life, and I understand people coming in from Box Elder. They're trying to get off a half an hour early from work and getting here before 5 o'clock to do stuff. I get that. I believe that once we get another person hired, which I do have interviews going on tomorrow and Friday to get the vacancy filled, I'm hoping that that will help out matters, but gone are the days of the 5-minute transaction. It's taken more manpower, unfortunately, and just answering phones in between. And, of course, when they don't get an answer at the state, they're calling us, or even down in Pennington County. If they can't get a hold of Pennington County, hey, let's try Meade.
I don't really have any good ideas.
Okay. Yeah, I'm hoping this too shall pass, that we get, but
Last month it has not.
But let's look optimistically. Yes.
By the end of the month, we're good, right?
Yes, there you go.
Well, I went to the treasurer's office yesterday. I purposely timed what time to go, and I went in at 5 to 1. And the reason being, I figured by that time, people who had gone up there during their lunch hour probably had left. And I wanted to observe. And during the 90 minutes I put on the clock, there was only 5 minutes during that 90 minutes that there was not somebody at every one of the open windows. But during that 5 minutes, there were 2 people on the phone. I noticed the phone rang continually. Only one person took a lunch break. No time for lunch. There's no time for anything. I was given a 14-page printout of all the things that that the state has sent out.
Oh.
That is wrong. That needs patches or something. And this is 14 pages as of March 14th. And it only started after the system was implemented, past the initial week or so learning curve. I found out none of the patches can be made locally because I thought, oh, if it's something on the software thing, maybe Tony can fix it or whatever. But I also found out that the software people apparently were not completely familiar with South Dakota's licensing laws. So as a result, things affecting how licenses are issued in South Dakota aren't all complete in the software program that the state implemented. And apparently the software engineers are back to wherever they came from. And it's like, who do you call at the state, other than the Department of Revenue, to try to get some movement? Maybe software engineers back, maybe something. And I find it ironic that there's a $2 service fee that has been added as of July, unless it has an emergency measure. I don't know.
I haven't heard that it has an emergency
to help cover this new system that looks like it may impact and cause more time and more staffing at the local level. And as usual, most of the money's going to the state of South Dakota. And already 80% of our licensing fee goes to the state of South Dakota. It was always nice before, too, where we could see how many licenses were issued in Sturgis and at the kiosks and all that stuff. None of that information no longer is available. I think maybe the governor, somebody, needs to go into the Department of Revenue and find out what is wrong and get this corrected. You cannot have delays in 67 counties because we have a software system that is not fully functional. That's just my opinion. And when you have things that barcodes aren't reading things like, it takes a lot of time to type in VIN numbers and driver's license numbers and all that stuff, when before you could just put a scan. I could issue a license plate before. I couldn't now.
That's why I was wondering if the treasurers are getting together to send a note, letter.
Yeah, a lot of
And who do you send it to that's got some power to do something about it? I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fine. Yes, there's a lot of treasurers out there that are very vocal. I'm sure spring workshop is going to be heated, to say the very least.
Well, at least it's not just our county.
No, it is not.
But for the public, it is an issue across the state. So please,
absolutely,
understand it's not us that's causing this problem.
Robin only had a 14-hour day yesterday.
Every day.
Yeah.
And that lies the problem. It's not just our county.
Yep.
If we could have pinned the guinea pigs, then it's only us that we could get these software glitches out. But it is every county that's dealing with it. So.
But again, I'm very glad to see Wendy's here, because I do not believe that there has been much publicity about the failure of the launch of this system. Thank you, Wendy.
Any other questions for Treasurer's Office? Well,
okay.
We appreciate
the
hard work you're putting into this. This has got to be frustrating. Thank you. 4-H.
Good morning, everyone. Jenny Voigt, Meade County 4-H educator. Hadn't been here for a while, so I thought it was time to come in and do kind of a quarterly update and introduce myself to Mr. Severin. So 4-H is busy as always. It's been really successful this year. Our enrollment right now is at about 346 kids and volunteers. We have 14 clubs and many independent members across the county. I've been busy. I helped with the youth days at the Black Hills Stock Show Youth Day, and we had about 350 kids participate in those events. I'm the chairman for the Beef Cook-Off, and I had 20 kids participate in that. I started a new group called our Cloverbud Kids Zone, and that's kids ages 5 to 9. I just really like to grab those kids when they're 5 years old and young and get them involved in 4-H and kind of what it's about. We've been working on social skills, team building, and I introduced them to the different values that we held strong in 4-H. Fundraising, as always, going hard, grant writing. Like you guys know, for our fair barn, we want our bathrooms. And we know now that we have a lot of pigs coming to the fair this year, which is unusual for us. So we need to pour a lot of concrete to have in place by our fair the end of July. FFA used the building last week for their CDEs. I helped with that contest. We served a meal to the FFA members as a fundraiser. There's a rabbit show that's happening in there in May. Art in the Barn is a fleece and fiber festival. That's going to be in the barn. I think the beginning of June. We've been working concession stands at the Monument Event Center during their events, and that's been a really good fundraiser for us. We're working this weekend at the State AAU Wrestling, and so that's been kind of a fun fundraiser for us where we don't have to do a whole lot except show up and work and the kids, and we've got grandparents showing up, just anybody who can help support 4-H, so that's been going good.
Do they pay the kids by the hour or a percentage?
It's a percentage of the sales. We get 15% of the sales. So yeah, we're very selective in trying to pick some really
high-cost items.
Yeah. Just big events.
I don't mean rip off.
Yeah. No, and then we can't ask for tips, but we can put out a donation jar. And so we're averaging about $1,000 per shift, and we're working 2 shifts this weekend. So, and it's a really big event. So, fingers crossed. It's so far I think we've gotten about $3,000 from that. So. That's been good. The Sturgis Rotaract, which is a branch of the Rotary Club, they just had a fun Olympics here in Sturgis, and we participated in that. We've done some other fundraisers. We've gotten some grants for shooting sports. I got a grant that helped with our sewing incentive area. I bought 6 new sewing machines. Not my area of expertise, but I've pulled some people in, and the classes are going really great. We've consistently have 10 to 12 kids, and that's my max of kids that we will have at the classes. But yeah, the sewing classes have been going really well. Teaching the kids about recycling and upcycling clothing. I went to the SDAE 4HP conference in Mitchell, which is my professional organization. I presented on horticulture skill-a-thon, which I run at the state fair, and then some life skills curriculum that I've been working on, and I am the lead on that also. Shooting sports is going really strong right now. We are in the height of it. We have 3 clubs, one in Meade, one in Union Center, and one in Sturgis, with 125 kids that are participating in that. Tonight, one group is getting a large grant from the Black Hills Shooters, I think it is, in Piedmont. The Beekeeping Club is in their busy season right now, preparing. They're getting a new family set up to have their own hives. Also, soon I'll be in my favorite place, the garden. over here. I'm working on getting that ready. Talked to Nathan to help us with a little bit of the weed control this year. I really want to get the garden looking really well because I'm going to be hosting the Northern Hills Master Gardeners there for a class the end of June. They'll come in and it's a community class for everyone. And then, yeah, the Fair Board is busy planning our fair, which will be July 25th and 26th at the Fair Barn. Pretty much the same as always there. Invite the community out and all of you. And hopefully our meal, we'll be looking for people to help serve the meal at that. So put that on your calendar. Any questions for me? Lots going on. It's busy.
What was the dates of that again?
So the fair is July 25th and 26th. The 25th will be that community picnic and other ag fest events that we partner with the Chamber of Commerce.
You could send us all an email.
Oh, yeah.
To remind us. I'm sure you will. But.
Yeah.
I help with the Bothwell Benefit Bull Riding.
Oh, yeah.
And this year we're doing a 2-day event.
Okay.
So I've talked to Thad, and I'd like to get some time with you and
put
the 4-H out there and get some donations.
Absolutely.
Set up a booth. And we've got a spot for it. And so just getting with you and trying to get you out there. And
that would be
great. Good event to raise some money. There's a lot of people. So we've had that conversation. Now I just need to have that set up out there.
Absolutely. Do you know the date of that?
We're still depending on June 14th or June 21st. We're trying to avoid Father's Day weekend.
Okay.
So it'd probably be the next weekend.
Okay.
I'll get that finalized and then see if we can't do something and help out getting that set up.
Yeah, no, I know them pretty well too, and the Delzers, and work with them. So
big event, and going to a 2-day now. It'll have some more.
Yeah, count us in. We'll definitely do whatever we can.
Is your son still bull riding?
He is not. He had to finally. He's a little beat up. Tomorrow's nose surgery, so it was time. Mama's happy.
I would be thrilled. No offense.
He's gone to Dad's quite a bit, but the day has come. So.
Any other questions for what? Thank you for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for your time.
Emergency management.
Good morning, Commissioners. Sean Henderson, Meade County Emergency Management and Veteran Services. I just wanted to briefly take an opportunity to re-communicate our test that's taking place tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. The alert, which will be right on the dot at 1:30, should flash on people's phones. Should is the stressed word. It's our first year of attempting this. Weather radio will broadcast. The TV with what's called emergency alerting systems will flash a little message across the bottom of the TV or the top. I don't know. Not really sure where exactly, but we'll see. That's being driven by the National Weather Service as far as that part of the alert goes. And I really wanted to stress on you have to enable the alert on iPhones and Androids. Okay, that's what I've been really trying to stress. That was some feedback from Pennington counties last year as people complained that they didn't get the alert because Amber Alerts and weather alerts that sometimes we get, right, those are enabled by default. I think it's as a federal government requirement. But state and local test alerts have to be physically enabled on your phones. And has everybody done that? I'm curious.
I didn't find it on mine either, Sean.
Okay, so very simple. For an Android, you go into the settings, the little cogwheel, and you type the words. You start typing it, it'll populate after you wireless emergency alerts. And when you halfway through typing it, I think it pops up. You select it, and then there'll be a list of extreme threats, severe threats, amber alerts, public safety messages, and then those will all be on, probably. In the very bottom, it'll say state and local test or something like that. Does everybody see that?
What about us cool kids that don't have Android?
So iPhones, I was going to segue into that.
Here we go.
Okay. iPhones, or it says, if you go to settings, notifications, and then you should see on the list government alerts. And hopefully this is updated.
Did not.
I did.
Okay, let me try in this phone.
The non-techie person found it.
My work phone is an iPhone, which I am not too familiar with them, but okay.
How
So it's at
about
the bottom?
kind of, we also have
I went to
earthquake alerts.
settings. Oh, is there as well? Okay. Oof, this is
I did
a long
find it
list.
is
You have
not
a-
where they say.
You have government alerts.
Gotta go all the way to the bottom of
And
the
then you
list.
go to what, after the emergency alerts?
Go to the very.
I'm not finding it.
Scroll all the way to the very bottom of your.
This is, I'm under settings, but I think I have to go
Keep going down.
all the way
Go
down.
clear down.
It says Web EOC, so I don't think that's it. There's a lot of, I think these are all apps or something.
Keep going down to the bottom, very, very bottom.
I think I have to hit notifications.
You gotta do that first.
Or emergency?
We had a good
I'm-
demonstration today. We don't always get that.
Look, if I go to the bottom, that's I'm in settings. Go to notifications, that's why. I know, I need a 12-year-old.
You still have a VCR?
Oh, there it is.
Here, it just keeps blinking at me.
Test alerts. Okay, there we go.
Hey, his wasn't on either.
So you've been trying to program that since 1990, Talbot?
Well, we'll see what the results are. I've mentioned before that this is a joint effort with Pennington County, Fall River, and Custer this year. Hopefully we can get more of the West River counties, or as many as we can, I suppose. There will be some bleed over. Rest assured, I've gotten, I live in Piedmont area, so I've gotten Pennington County's alerts before, and I'm sure they're going to get some Meade counties right. Box Elder, Black Hawk, that whole area, they'll probably they might get double. I'm curious to see if that's true or not. But Pennington County has a website that it's for the survey. So the messaging will have the link to the survey that'll redirect you to their thing, and they're going to collect all the data for us. So they have the capability to do that, and then the user will select what county they're in if they choose to do the survey. Hopefully we get some data out of it. That's the intent. But
Now, is this the method that I got the alert last Saturday night about the fire at Keystone or Rockerville? Okay.
mhm.
So
yeah.
checking this, so the instructions to check this on that's just to receive the test. Now, if there is an event, it's
Correct.
on already.
Correct.
By
That's
default.
right. Yep, great question, Rich. This is strictly for the test alerts. Amber alerts, weather alerts, if we push out some extreme danger that's imminent or is occurring, it will push those out. Without doing anything to your phone. And my question was flip phones. So this is instructions for iPhones and Androids. People have, that's probably an iPhone or Android.
It's a flip phone.
Well,
It's a Samsung
I meant like
flip phone.
an old school Nokia,
Oh.
like a Boost or something, like one of those phones. Yeah, non-smartphone. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll rephrase my wording. Non-smartphones. Allegedly, this is built in automatically. There's no settings to set. We'll see about that too. So I'm hoping that's the case.
So the one guy with the flip phone, you can
That's
ask
right.
him if it worked.
That's right. Yeah, that's absolutely.
You might
fair.
know one.
I think I know a few.
Yeah, I'm sure I have. Well, yeah, I have some,
Yeah.
veterans that definitely
Certainly.
have flip phones. But yeah, we'll see. I'm excited for this to see, and hopefully we'll learn some things from it too, and we can adjust for next year.
Okay, so now I got some questions.
Sure.
Okay, I know you've talked to Ben, and we all got a notification from Ben about having some trouble with needing batteries and all this and that and everything. And so indirectly he answered some of mine by virtue of just having a phone. If a tornado alert goes out, it's going to go to every phone. and it's not going to be delayed like a paging network for the ambulance goes out. That it's going to hit everybody all at once
Correct. In Meade County.
in Meade County.
The software actually has, it's like a geolocation, so it shows a border of,
Okay.
of Meade County.
Right.
So they're going to get it in Faith
Okay.
the same moment we get ours,
But
theoretically.
if there's somebody out there without a cell phone, not even a flip phone, they won't know unless a siren goes off.
If they can hear the siren. Yes.
If they can,
If they can
yeah,
hear it,
because they
correct.
may be living out there by Gary and not hear a siren.
And typically
Do
you're
you hear a
outside.
siren
I don't
out
hear
there?
mine in Somerset.
What?
I don't hear mine typically in Somerset unless I'm outside, and it's a little bit faint
Oh.
because it's quite a ways away. It's a couple miles at least.
Ken, do you hear it at Somerset? Okay. Oh, okay.
I live by the Hogback, so it's a little ways away. I think it's over by Camping World area, right? Or something.
Yeah. Pat, where you used to live, would you hear a siren? Oh, Oh, okay.
Yep. Yeah, there's one there. My brother and sister-in-law live right there where Haynes meets Elk Creek, and they hear it.
Okay.
But yeah, so if you want to talk about sirens, we have 15 in the county. The last one purchased was near, I think, Full Throttle area here on Lozelle.
Highway 79.
Oh, 79. Okay, there you go. So there was something, I might be off a little bit with my numbers, but there was like 8 of them bought in 2005 with Homeland Security grants, and then another set in 2008. Meade County is responsible for the maintenance and the power bill, which I pay every month, because they're in the county and they're not city property like Somerset has one that they maintain. The biggest feedback I've received from asking other counties about their feedback with sirens, which made a lot of sense. It's the last line of defense because they are battery powered. So God forbid if we have grid down scenario, they can still enable them because they're battery powered. What's the terminology? The peace of mind for the public is a big factor as well, because people feel safer if they have these sirens. That's other than that, I think that the maintenance cost, I gave you some numbers, rough ballpark numbers. It's not a little bit of a drop in the bucket in my opinion. So, we probably should discuss it more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, with that geo field or whatever you call it, that impacts every phone that's within that area, no matter if they're a visitor or a resident.
Correct. Theoretically. So in a easy way to explain it is, the software itself is fenced in to the borders of Meade County. Okay.
Yeah.
However, it runs on let's just call it a band of wireless. Because wireless signals are like an umbrella or a circle essentially, depending on geography. Obviously, if there's a mountain in the way, I guess, but it'll still broadcast. But even though that cell tower is right on the border of Meade and Pennington or Lawrence or whatever, theoretically it shouldn't affect anybody that's across the street over that boundary, even though they're on the same tower. But it's been proven that doesn't always work that efficiently. So there is a great chance that if you live in Blackhawk that you could get both alerts, and I'm very curious about that. Perkins might, they might, Faith is far from Perkins, I think, right?
Like 2-3 months.
Oh, okay, not too far. Yeah, so the Perkins might receive some of these as well.
Well,
Because they're on the same tower.
I'm not nearly concerned about somebody getting more than one alert. It's somebody not getting an alert. And
Absolutely.
specifically, I was wondering about tourists in the area or rally attendees in the area. If, you know, we always get a storm during the rally.
It screams alert all over it. The test, I mean, the words test.
It drives
test,
us
test,
nuts.
So.
No, I'm not talking about the test.
Oh,
I'm
right.
talking about the real thing.
Right, absolutely. And to ease your mind a little bit as well, from what I discovered is, you know, a lot of times during the rally, you know, or big events anywhere, your phone, the bandwidth is limited, so you're, you know, sometimes you can't get signals. This uses a whole different lines.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's emergency lines that
So
the government.
It would interrupt and truncate the others to get through.
Correct.
Any other questions on how to set our phones?
Yeah, I'm glad that we went through it because
Right.
these instructions maybe can be tweaked a little bit more next year. I think, you know, Android's very easy, you know, but yeah, we'll see. I'll give you guys the feedback, I guess, on the.
Thank you,
Or
Mr.
if you
Anderson.
wanna
Anybody
give me
have
a
any
call or
questions on ISO or anything else while he's here? Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Brings us down to highway. Troy just texted Rich and I and said he had to run out, but I think we can handle. I don't think there's anything that's going to be need him for necessarily. Traffic count analysis. Any questions on that? Rich, Troy, Rich or Earl, you guys as liaisons, if you have anything to add, just holler.
I have nothing on this.
Joint powers agreement, weed spraying. That's just an agreement that we have with the city of Sturgis, state highways, and I-90 within Meade County. We'll have to have action on that if we so choose to do that. Any questions on or comments on it?
This is our standard agreement we sign yearly to help provide service and in coordination with all the other areas. I'll make a motion to approve the joint powers agreement and have the chairman sign.
Second.
We got a motion and second on the floor to approve this joint powers agreement. Is there any discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Moves us down to notice to bidders, gravel crushing. This would just be to get the notice out is what we're doing with this. Is that correct?
Yep. We budgeted $600,000 again this year. I understand that one of our pits that we crushed at, I think last year, we've utilized maybe half of that gravel so far, and I think Troy's done a fantastic job of spreading gravel. So I'll make a motion to begin the bid process and for the notice to bid on the gravel.
And to set the opening for is April 22nd going to be?
Yes.
Going to work at
yep.
10 a.m.? Okay.
That's correct.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Motion is second on the floor to start the bid process and have the opening at 10 a.m. on April 22nd. Any discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Kind of along that highway note and the gravel side is last year we did put base stabilization on Fort Meade Way. We have not really hauled gravel to Fort Meade Way since then, so I think we were putting quite a little gravel up there just because it blows off the sides. It gets bladed back on, we pull up dirt, but I think that process is working rather well. So I did ask for some numbers, and hopefully I'll get some in the upcoming future on how much gravel we're not putting back on roads by using.
Well, that'd be wonderful. I've heard compliments on that road and how much better it's staying together. So, and yeah, we've hauled, Troy and crew has hauled a lot of gravel this year. Any other questions for Commissioner Severn or Liggett as liaisons? Okay, let's move. Yep, did you have something else?
Nope.
Okay. Were you worried we were going to ask you a question?
I was worried.
Okay,
I'm glad we're off
I could
of
see you sweating there. Let's move down, and planning's going to take a little bit. We have a 10 o'clock hearing, so let's move down to the auditor. I think we can get through that before our 10 o'clock hearing. The item G1 on our agenda, auditor report.
Good morning, Commissioner Rhea Crane, Meade County Auditor. I have provided all of the lien numbers, the payment numbers, the apportioning numbers Probably the biggest thing that we have to update you on is that April 8th, the week of April 8th, will be a big week for us simply because we have commission meeting followed by Board of Equalization. So Chris will be doing minutes for those two meetings because Aaron and Dawn will be leaving the afternoon of the 8th to go to Pier for spring workshop on the 9th and 10th. We do have city election also for City of Sturgis on April 8th, and I believe even Faith on April 8th, so we will be in office from 7 to 7 that day. Malt beverage applications were sent out by Aaron last week, so we will have a hearing on May, help me Aaron, 27th, I believe. And we have advertised for a deputy auditor position, and thus far we have received 9 applicants.
Good.
Wonderful. Any questions for the auditor? Overtime report. If there's any questions or comments on that, we'll just keep moving. We have a Meade 46-1 school election agreement. We've been working on this for a couple months now. Meade County School District is hoping to use our tabulating machine with the help of the auditor. Has everyone had a chance to look at it?
Well, it looks like in the future we're going to just have a cost sharing.
It looks like in the future it will be a mandatory thing.
Yeah.
Any questions, comments, discussion on this agreement?
You're good with the cost on this one?
I am, yes. We did put it in at $100 an hour for up to 4 employees. We expect that we would have 2 auditor's office employees, possibly a third if something were to go awry, and then we did want to have the availability to have IT if necessary.
And I don't think so far they even have enough applicants for an election.
Last I asked from, I believe it was Mr. Burdett, he told me that there were 3 people that had taken out petitions, but one was unsure if they were going to turn it back in. For two positions to be seated.
Questions, comments, and/or action on this?
I'll make a motion to approve the election agreement.
Motion and second on the floor to approve this election agreement with Meade School District 46-1. Any discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Let's jump down to commission real quick. Communique is just some various update items, I believe, in there.
Yeah, there's some really big multi-million-dollar bonds.
Notice that. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Any comments on communique? Let's move down to H2. Do a raffle application for Help After Disaster, Inc.
So this is an application that we received from Help After Disaster to be a vendor at the Buffalo Chip during the motorcycle rally. I did provide information showing that they are a recognized 501c3 by the IRS. They did file as a foreign nonprofit in the state of South Dakota. They will be asking for a refund of their fees that they will have to pay up front, but we will handle that after the rally.
And again, we will, like with most lotteries, we'll have no idea if a prize was ever awarded.
Correct.
Any other
I
questions?
shall save my opinion.
I think you gave it. Any other questions, comments, and/or action?
I'll make a motion to approve the notice of intent to conduct a raffle.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second on the floor to approve this raffle for Help After Disaster. Any discussion to that motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
You know, I think I'll oppose.
Motion carries with one opposed, which is Commissioner Freed.
I think I'll do that for all out-of-state lotteries.
Good. Good.
I mean, we can't stop it.
Brings us down to, we chose to put this Dodge 2021 Dodge pickup on surplus. We have got some estimates on that. Is that correct?
Yes, you do have 3 opinions of value received from John Olson, Mike Cooper, and Ben Petracco. They are all provided here. I did include in the admin section some various ways that you may want to use to determine what you determine the vehicle could be worth, but that's up for your discussion.
Sure.
You know, I think we ought to put in there if it's, for some of us like me, if that's a diesel.
It is not a diesel.
Gas.
I, too, asked the question. A Hemi motor cannot be a diesel.
It's a gas motor.
Okay. Well, you see, there might be some lady out there that wants to know, Earl, and we don't know if we need
You can just
gas
ask Earl.
or if it's electrical.
Or Rhea.
Same. I did ask John that very question.
Okay, so we need to decide which
can't put
route
it
we
with
want
a
to go
Hemi.
on. I guess this would be something we could, as a contract, to discuss an exec if we so choose to wait on it, or someone have an idea that they'd like to pursue.
Why wouldn't we just take offers from it that we then can reject or accept?
Will you say that again, Talbot? I'm sorry.
Why wouldn't we just take sealed bids from it that we can accept or reject?
That in the form of a motion?
Yeah.
Or Wizard?
Sell it or put it up for sale by sealed bids, reserving the right to accept bid or reject.
Would you like to offer any time frame for the amount of time for the sealed bids to be accepted?
Well, we should advertise. What do we usually do for advertising?
So I would assume in this particular case, we would actually probably put it in all 3 newspapers, meaning the Journal, the Pioneer, and the Faith Independent.
Well,
I don't think that's enough. I think you should put, instead of as a public notice, you should put it as a display ad with a photo. Because I think in the legal notices it might get lost, and you could easily get that in like a 2x4.
I think that's a good idea. Should we just set it at that we look at the bids at our first meeting in June, or is that too long?
I would think you'd lose interest by then.
well, I guess it depends on how quickly you get the ad.
I don't think we'll start losing bids, but I don't disagree with that. But I think 2 weeks is too short. I think so. A month would be fine, so we could look at our first meeting in May.
Why don't we do it this way? Make my motion to do that, but have the auditor provide us a proposed ad and where they would publish and how many times opening date.
Talbot, I really can't hear you. I'm sorry. It's because my head is clogged, I'm sure.
Well, probably because I'm sitting too far away from the mic. My motion is that we take it to bid, reserve by sealed bid, reserving our right to reject all bids, but that we not formally set all dates right now. Instead, I'd ask the auditor's office to mock up what they think for an ad, a timeline for where they're published, whether you're publishing once or twice, and then a proposed date for accepting bids and then opening bids.
Okay.
So you'll have that.
So we're not trying to do it here.
Certainly.
And if you could have that the next meeting, we could
Okay.
kind of thumbs up or thumbs down it.
Perfect.
So the motion on the, we have a motion, we don't have a second. Motion and second on the floor to have the auditor's office supply us with an ad for the next meeting, essentially.
Sure.
With some dates on it, opening and closing. Any discussion to that motion?
And I do have one question. If we're going to do an ad, so to speak, a photo ad, do we still have to do a legal notice in the legal section?
No.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think you have to do, you have to give notice of the sale.
Okay.
But
thank you.
Yeah. I'll review before we begin.
Thank you.
Any discussion to the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I bet that's got a high top speed with that Hemi.
Let's go to...
Once you buy it, let us know.
Yeah, that'd be fun, Doreen.
I bet you could make it appear pretty quick.
Brings us up to our 10 o'clock hearing, budget supplement for modernization and modernization preservation fund. 75,000. Hi, Miss Anderson.
Morning, Commissioners. Lana Anderson, Meade County Register of Deeds.
Go ahead.
Just transferring $75,000 from a modernization and preservation fund to finish up the project, the Image Express, large project that we're coming to the tail end of. This was just the remainder of the invoice, and I did not ask for it when I would have normally. I just was unsure of the total amount that was going to be due.
And this is all covered in our current. We have all the funds in the modernization fund.
Absolutely, we have.
We're just transferring that to pay this bill.
Absolutely, we have plenty of money. It's just that it's very specific on how it's spent, and I knew I could spend it on the remainder of this project.
Yeah, I did want to make that note, and I think it's clear. It's not coming out of the general fund. It's coming out of the M&P fund, the cash fund. That's the cash that's sitting in there. So, and
it's been a long, long process.
They estimated about 18 months, and it's been closer to 24 months, and we're still not completely to the end.
Are you happy so far with the work, though?
Yes.
Okay.
Not happy with the communication, but happy with what's been done, yes.
Any other questions, comments on this? So we're essentially passing a resolution to do this. So questions, comments, interaction?
Public input.
Oh, you're certainly right. Does anybody from the public wish to speak to this? Not seeing anyone from the public that wishes to speak to this, so do we have anybody want to make, we have action on this?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2025-10.
Second.
Motion and second on the floor to pass motion 2025-10. Any discussion to that motion?
I'd like to thank Lana for waiting to do this until you had the number, because otherwise it would have been, who knows what that number was.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Any other discussion to this motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Lana.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Let's, brings us down to planning. Let's take about a 10-minute break before we jump into planning. Guys are all eagerly waiting.
Yeah, he was here before me. I parked next to him. So do you think it's allergies? Is yours the flu?
All right, and that calls back to order. Bring us to the Planning Department, or F on the agenda. Item F1 is a review of refusal of inspection for Lot 4 of Block 2 of Pleasant Valley Estates. If you'd like to come forward, Ms. Vig. Give us a brief overview, and I'll ask the people to come forward. Yes, there's a lot of pages here, isn't there? So brief might be tough.
I'll keep it short.
I'm going to pull your mic closer, maybe. Thank you.
You're welcome. Tanya Vig, Meade County Planning Director. Here for the refusal to complete a framing inspection for Lot 4 of Block 2 of Pleasant Valley Estates. My reason is because there was no footing or wall inspections performed. Building inspector and I had once in April, we went out there to do those inspections. We were called in April of 2024 to do those. They failed twice. After that point, we have not received any contact with them on another inspection to complete the footing or the foundation walls. We have had contact with, we did contact them back and forth, requesting additional information for geotech or anything. Finally got some stuff the last couple weeks. On January 30th, I spoke with Aaron Schwan and Associates regarding the foundation wall. He sent a letter stating that it sorry. Could you go to the letter, Rhea? I'm sorry, this is a long report.
Yeah, we can.
First page.
Page 4.
Page 4, keep going. So when they called to do wanted the framing inspection, they had supplied a letter from Aaron Schwan stating that based on the review and the contractor that was doing the work, it was recommended that they followed the plans and that the steel was properly installed. I did contact Aaron Schwan at that point. We did not have any inspection reports, no photos, no nothing that the foundation was done that way. After that, I did receive a letter from Mark Fetzer on March 17th. Oh, sorry, that's his request. There's another page.
Well, let's.
So I did receive a letter from Mark Fetzer stating the same thing, that he had done the inspection of the footings in the foundation wall. And then I refused those based on there was still no evidence with the letters. There was no attachments, any photos, any compaction reports. There was nothing still supplied with those. And so that's when we kind of started the emails back and forth. I still refused for the building inspector to do the framing inspection based on the 2 letters I received. And then after speaking with Chandler with Top Shelf, he had basically became, he wanted to be on the commission meeting, and I said I would write a letter stating our reasons why I was refusing this. And this is how we ended up with Mr. Seward is now involved, requested the data. I've supplied everything, and now I have Mr. Seward supplied me with all the attachments 9 months later after we've been asking for this stuff. So today we are here for the decision of why I won't do a framing inspection.
Thank you, Ms. Bigg. Is there a representative?
Can I ask a couple clarifying questions?
Yep.
Sure. Would you rather do it before or after the?
Well, let me just, so I understand the background a little bit better, because I think that's important, because that
certainly,
whether I have questions for. First, I see that Mr. Seward has made an appearance. The Aaron Swan talks about Lot 4, Block 4, but this is Lot 4, Block 2, correct?
Correct.
Did Mr. Swan clarify as to whether he had the wrong lot or anything?
No.
I want to make sure I understand it. You said they failed twice on the foundation.
Yes.
And so the first 2 times they failed, why did they fail?
The first one was a footing inspection. The footings did not match the plan supplied by Ernst One on the detailed engineer plan. They were not wide enough.
Okay.
So they were not formed correctly. The second time they failed, there was no, they were on virgin ground.
Okay, so just so I understand it. So when you say the footings aren't wide enough, they didn't build them to the actual engineered plans?
Correct.
So they had to remove them?
They removed them all, yes.
And then the engineered plans also called for what, engineering fill?
Engineered fill underneath.
And they didn't put engineering fill on, they put it, the next time they put the foundation down, they put it on virgin soil?
That's what I was told by their contractor.
Okay. And so virgin soil is basically the soil
They scraped it off and whatever was there, they just leveled it. And that's what their footings were formed on the ground.
And my understanding of this neighborhood, the geotech work shows fatty clays?
Yes.
Which are expansive soils, correct?
Yes.
And these expansive soils require proper footings and engineering fill to keep the house from shifting and moving and cracking up. So they took them out twice. They had called for inspections both times then, correct?
Yes.
And then when did you hear back from them again about an inspection?
Chad, around the first week in March.
And what was that an inspection for?
Framing.
Okay, so how did they ever call you back to inspect their new foundation?
No.
And that's what I understand the issue is here, is you knew they failed twice, they knew they failed twice. They called you the first two times, but then they just put in a foundation and then went forward with the job without bothering to call the county.
Correct.
And if I understand your position from planning correctly is it's hard to, if not impossible, to give a okay on the framing when you don't know whether the foundation was put in correctly.
That's how I understood our ordinance. Yes, it doesn't give ordinance doesn't give another avenue if you don't do the prior to inspections that you can move forward with the next inspection.
And
it's very clear when you get a building permit. Our building permits on the backside tell you when inspections are required, whom to call. When we do our building permits, the plat was pulled. They were told there was the plat on the face of the plat states the geotechnical problems and a report is required. So it's been established from day one of the building permit.
If I recall correctly, in this subdivision, we're requiring every residential lot to have geotech completed.
With a recommendation of how to construct the foundation.
Because of the soils in the area tend to shift.
Well, is there anybody as a representative for the landowner or a representative for the contractor here that'd like to speak? Okay, if you'd like to come forward, sir. I'll give you about 10 minutes, sir.
Jim Swart.
Your mic on, sir.
Perfect. So we've got Mark Fetzer, the engineer, has given his blessing to it, has signed his name to it. I know that the only the planning director references Mr. Lutz, but we also have an approval from a licensed engineer in South Dakota, Mr. Fetzer, and I'll let you talk to him about that. But one of the things, I'm not putting blame on anybody. I think that there probably has been maybe a lack of communication, maybe on both sides. And one of the people that I'd really like you to hear from is Michael Warwick, who did the concrete work, that did the foundation and the footers. And I think he'll give you some perspective of exactly how we ended up here, at least as to the communications back and forth between your planning office. So I'd ask Mr. Warwick to come up and at least give a brief history of, and I'll let you.
Hi, my name's Michael Warwick. I own Wicks Concrete with my brother. We did the footings for this job of Chandler's. The first day that we went out there to do the footings, the floor plan that we got didn't have a footing schedule on it, and we weren't aware that it had to be on engineer fill or the footing had to be 4 feet wide and upgraded bar. So we did the footings, called for inspection, called for a pump. Pump showed up. I believe Chad came out the first time, inspected it, and we failed it because it wasn't the correct width or the correct bar. So we ripped it out, redid it, and then had it re-inspected again, and we failed again due to not having it on engineer fill. So then we tore it out again. We never did pour it, we tore it out again, and they put base course down, had compaction test on it, and then I texted, we redid it again, and called for inspection, and I have a text for on May 13th, to Chad saying, hey Chad, I need the footings checked in Pleasant Valley, the one that we had to do engineer specs on. And then he responded, do you have any new report showing the dirt work met the compaction requirements? Tanya talked to the dirt guy and told him we would want something stating it meets the requirement. And I texted back saying it's the same engineer from the compaction, and I didn't have any info on that, which the dirt guy talked to the compaction test folks, and they did compaction test on it. And then we poured it because I'd assume it got checked. So.
If you want to hold your questions, let's let them testify first, and then we'll hold commission questions till the end. So if you guys have any more to say. Okay. And I'm giving 10 minutes total for testimony.
Hi, I'm Mark Fetzer. I'm a structural engineer, licensed in South Dakota. And I received a call from Chandler that there was some missed inspections, so he asked me to come take a look at the foundation. So, and I don't remember the date that I did that, but I believe it was in March sometime. But I went and did an inspection of the concrete footing and foundation where I could see the framing had already been started. So, but I did walk around the outside. There was no evidence of any cracking of any kind in the foundation wall. And then also this house has a crawl space, so I was able to go into the crawl space and observe the footing that was exposed in the crawl space, and then also the foundation wall. And then there was also a footing, intermediate bearing wall footing that I observed, and there was, again, it was in very good shape. There was no evidence of any cracking. And then I also looked at, I was aware that engineered fill had been placed, and I looked in the crawl space, and everything looked normal. I looked right adjacent to the footing, and at that time I was not aware that there was any compaction test, but I guess that now there was some compaction test done. So then Chandler asked me to write a letter, which I did write a letter stating that everything looked good with the foundation and the engineered fill. So that's, and then at that time I thought the rebar in the wall was number 4, and the footing was number 4 bars, but then I found out after that actually was number 5, which is a 5/8 bar, which is pretty heavy duty for residential construction.
Is a 5 stronger than a 4?
Yes. Quite a bit stronger. Because a number 4 bar is a 1/2 inch.
Okay.
And number 5 bar is 5/8.
Okay.
Anybody else want to testify in favor of this? Not, I'll close public testimony, and if you're going to go ahead, you have a little more time left.
And I think it's Mr. Warwick. He called for the inspection, so he formed it up, I think, 3 times. So there wasn't a lack of trying to do the right thing. I think that appears that from the text, and I provided that to the board, that there was clearly text back and forth with the planning office to get this properly inspected. And And then I understand that there's concerns in regards to building and what's going to happen 20 years from now. But one of the benefits that you have is we've also provided the compaction tests. But it's not the planning. I guess if there's anything that's going to happen 20 years ago, I guess the person that's going to be on the hook for it is right there. I mean, you've got a licensed engineer with an insurance and bonded saying that this is a proper footing and foundation and it was built pursuant to the specs. And so it's not the county that's going to be on the hook for this. It's going to be Mark Fetzer. And so with that, I think that there's been some lack of communication, probably should have been better. But there's no reason to stop a project in the middle of it, especially when you have a licensed engineer who's putting his reputation and probably more importantly his insurance policy on the line for this project. And so what we would ask, my understanding, it's a little convoluted, but we believe that Mr. Fetzer's opinion more than makes up for, and it's way above a normal inspection that it's gone through. But we would just ask that the framing inspection be done. I mean, that's kind of where we're at right now, and just allow the project to go through. I've had the opportunity to speak with Mr. Clabrod, and procedurally, I think what we're talking about here is an appeal of the decision not to do the framing inspection. So, and I would defer to your legal counsel. But my understanding is the only thing before the board at this point in time is just approving the your planning office to do the framing inspection. And then eventually, once we get that done, then we'll be looking for an occupancy statement. Thank you.
Thank you. Does that conclude your testimony?
It does.
Okay.
That was my closing.
Yeah, thank you. Is there any questions from the commission for anybody? Just Mr. Severn, I had to interrupt you, but...
No, that's good. Just one thing for your records, and I own a geotech company, so your density tests, if you look at your address, do not match up with the address of the house. So, and I'm not saying anything one way or another, but for your own records, that's not good. Mm-hmm. Because what you state for the lot and block and physical address, they're not matching.
Okay. And I don't know what the difference is there.
It just means that, according to that, they didn't test the right property.
Any other?
They're on there. Oh. 55. Up for you.
Keep going up. It's on 57 right now, so keep going up. Yeah,
Yep.
That's what I was looking at too.
Going
Top
up.
one says your address is 2841, and the next one says physical property address.
And I did note that in a letter to Mr. Seward that the addresses were wrong on the geotech report.
Well, do you know they're wrong, or whether
The addresses were wrong.
Well, they don't match.
They're different.
They don't match this location.
One of them does not exist in our GIS system.
Okay, does the other one match this location?
No.
So neither of them match this location.
For this lot, no.
So, and this maybe is a question for the engineer. How did you determine what rebar was in there?
Like to come forward, sir?
Basically, I just observed that there was no cracking in the footing or the foundation. Plus, I had information from the original engineer that there were 3 number 5s in the footing and 3 number 5s horizontal in the foundation wall.
That's what was called out, but how do you know what they actually installed?
Oh, that I don't know 100%. I do not know.
Yeah. So, and
I just made the assumption that they followed the engineering drawing.
But, so as you sit here today, you have no idea whether they actually put that type of rebar in.
I can't prove it, no. I mean, we could try to prove it by getting a concrete scan done, but that's very expensive. We're talking thousands of dollars.
Which is less than a cracked house. The attorney mentioned that you would be responsible in 20 years if something went wrong. Now, I don't know how old you are, but I know how old I am. And the likelihood of me being around another 20 years, although I hope I am, an actuary would probably say the odds are against me. So, how long would your bond even be in place after you retire or quit or, God forbid, die? Who could the homeowner really come back against?
Well, they can come get the contractor if he's still in business. But I'm in my 60s, so I'm going to retire in 2 or 3 years.
And when you retire, your insurance and all that's going to go away, correct?
Well, I can professional liability insurance, I can do it for a number of years.
Yeah.
It just depends how much risk I want to take personally.
Right, or your heirs. But I'm just saying to the attorney, I think it's a fallacy to allege that a homeowner in 20 years could come back against a PE who's well into their 80s and probably no longer has liability insurance.
So, Mr. Fetzer, I've got a question for you. So, you said you went and did a visual inspection of the foundation.
Yes.
And the dirt, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a structural engineer, looking at the dirt and seeing what it looks like, do you feel that is acceptable? I mean, really, you don't know.
Again, without compaction tests, but everything looked normal. That's the only thing I can really say.
So, what I'm saying is, you're putting your name on a visual inspection, but you have no data to back that up.
Well, I do have data. I have data from the original design engineer. But I can't 100% prove. No, I cannot.
Yeah, questions?
Yes. I have a process question for Chad.
You'd like to come forward?
Chad Skinner, Meade County Building Inspector.
Is the building inspection office at the beck and call of a contractor or foundation concrete guy at a moment's notice? How many different contractors and projects do you have going on? Can you just drop everything and run to a site?
No, in the ordinance we require a 48-hour notice. If I'm able, I try to get to them as soon as I can just to stay caught up. Or if I'm in the area, because it's such a big county, I try to, accommodate them if I can, instead of driving, for instance, to House and, having to drive back the next day. So yeah, we require a 48-hour notice. But if I'm not busy and I can get there, I will.
But even at 48 hours, I would imagine during a busy season, that can be difficult, if not impossible.
Correct.
And so they still aren't supposed to proceed until you have been around and approved it, correct?
Correct.
And every contractor's aware of that, correct?
As far as I know.
So I had the opportunity to build a house in Meade County before I was commissioned. I had all of my inspections done prior to the next step, and I think Chad probably came out and looked at mine, to be honest. But I can't move forward until those inspections are completed. And I wasn't even a contractor. I did it myself. So,
oh,
yeah.
Multifaceted.
So, so I don't really understand the argument to say you notified them, with Chad saying that, you know, where are we at? What's the schedule? Missing the information. You guys tore out your foundations twice. The third time should have been a no-brainer to say I'm not getting moving on until the inspection's done. So I don't know where this goes, but it is not looking good for my vote.
Any other questions, comments from the commission?
I had a question, and I was talking to Ken about it, whether this process should be through a variance process anyway. And because they're already they violated the ordinance. Can you ask for forgiveness later was my question. And the thought was not necessarily so, but I think it's worth just having a discussion.
I was wondering the same thing.
I'm not a fan of the variance process once the work's done. I know it's done for, we just discovered, we're in the setback zone. A variance is supposed to be asking permission ahead of time, not forgiveness after the fact. In this case, the planning department won't move forward with inspections, and I thought the recourse is properly before the commissioners to either say, yes, you did it correctly, and there's various ways that they can be addressed moving forward. Either continue on with the inspections from this point forward, but note of public record that the inspections of the footing and the foundation were not completed. They would like the engineer's letter to be part of the public record as well, and we can record both the engineer's letter and the minutes from this meeting, verifying that the previous inspections were not done, and that would be recorded with Register of Deeds on this property.
Well, it sounds like not only was the inspection not done, there's a question as to if the borings were done, which I'm no engineer, but I would assume if the borings weren't done, you don't know if the engineering design was correct, from which the foundation was built and the entire house is in on top of it. I mean, I love the floor plan.
There was borings done throughout the area, and there are specific recommendations from Aaron Swan on there to the properties. Now, as being an engineering firm myself, without the problem I have with this whole thing is your geotech is stating they're out because there were no inspections performed. We have Mark Fetzer sitting here saying he's willing to sign off on something that was not inspected personally by himself. So I'm not sure what the recourse would be here. And my question would be this to everybody here is, if we go forward with not saying one thing or another, is who's going to own the liability on this?
I've already accepted the liability.
But like Doreen has stated, if you're done in 3 years and you don't continue to carry stuff, that property now goes back to the homeowner, unbeknownst that there could potentially be issues here.
But they would also, the contractors, they would be able to sue. Let's say I retired, and they would be able to go make a lawsuit against the contractor. Let's say there was a bunch of settlement or whatever.
We know that doesn't work. We have Hideaway Hills as a perfect example.
I don't know what that is. So.
Well, that's where the houses are falling down into a gypsum mine.
Okay. That's a different issue.
No, it's not.
It is.
It's a liability issue. They can't go back against the contractor. They can't go back against anybody.
And so we definitely appreciate those concerns. sometimes the lawyers have this tendency to talk about liability as who's going to get sued or what. And sometimes that's a fake discussion, and I appreciate your comments about that. Maybe out in western South Dakota, a word means something, and he put his word on it. He signed his name to it, and I definitely appreciate that. And I still think that maybe out, at least in this part of the country, that means probably more, and more than probably what an insurance policy means.
If
now
he's
I've had
dead, it doesn't matter.
and so I appreciate that. And so what I talked, and you talked about how do we give somebody notice of this? And so what I talked with Mr. Clabrod about is that maybe one of the things that we could do moving forward is that on this title, what we would do is file the minutes of this meeting in regards to this piece of property, and then attach Mr. Fetzer's opinion. And so that when you go back and look at the title of this, you have full knowledge of what you are buying. Now, with the understanding, and this is kind of the problem with doing it this way, with the full understanding that that's probably, I mean, the punishment for not getting the building inspection is probably, it's going to reduce the price on the property. I mean, when you have this in your title, somebody's going to get notice of it, and they're going to discount it. And so it's not without penalty, but the problem that we have is that we would just like to move forward, understanding mistakes were made. But as a business person, we still have to finish the construction. And so that's what I would ask as a backup plan. And I think, and I appreciate Mr. Clabrod for maybe bringing that option to us. But so that and I think the problem that you had with...
Are you going to continue with your testimony?
No, I'm done.
Because I have closed public testimony.
Yeah,
so I was letting you be brief, but...
I just responded. Thank you.
Is there any questions, comments? The liability is a concern of mine, but Commissioner Weiswart.
Ken, could I ask a couple other clarifying questions? So is there a penalty under the ordinances for this violation?
A violation of an ordinance is a Class 2 misdemeanor, $500 a day. Each day is a separate event. I've never seen a court impose $500 each day.
Civil penalty then, or
yes,
criminal? So we can go civil or criminal.
Yes, it functions at the same level as a criminal penalty. But
I will tell you, Jim, or Mr. Sword, I kind of get where you're coming from. I am troubled, frankly, by Mr. Fetzer's report because it doesn't call out the fact that he's simply relying on what the plans showed and assuming as part of his report that they actually built it to what the plans called for. And it doesn't say that. It says that as to the rebar, really doesn't call it that rebar issue at all. He says foundation walls are reinforced with number 4 verticals and number 4 horizontals. I'm assuming that's the rebar reference, but you have no idea whether that's true. According to the plan, you just assume they built it to the plan.
Correct.
But
I'm willing to take the liability. Because when I observed it, it looks great. There's no cracks anywhere. It looks super good. I can't even tell you how good it looks.
Well, it was just poured, though, not too long ago, right?
Well, I don't know that.
Well, I mean, the ground hasn't had that much time to move and shift or do anything.
I believe the footings were done about a year ago. I don't know.
So, I'm not sure the report helps because it actually provides false hope. Because it actually, he says conclusively that the rebar is the number 4.
As an engineer, I can prove that this foundation would work without any rebar in it at all.
If it's sitting on good material, or if it's not sitting on good material, Mr.
Assuming that the subgrade soils are good.
But you don't have conclusive knowledge of that. Is that correct?
It was my understanding there was compassion tests taken, but I didn't know that there was an address issue.
But so to answer my question, no, you don't have conclusive evidence.
Not 100%, no.
Well, I have a real problem with the fact that we don't have any idea what the compaction test would actually say on this lot. You mentioned that there is a test that could be done to determine exactly what type of rebar is in there, but that it costs several $1,000s. I would think, based on the amount of money that probably has been spent building and tearing down 2 foundations, putting in another foundation, a house, buying the lot, etc., that in order to get out of this situation, I would have whatever test that is done. I would also have a boring test to see if what was built would actually pass the design standards for that ground.
You can't do a boring below there's already a footing there, so you can't do a boring.
I know, and so I don't know how you can say something is good when you don't know what it is on top of.
Again, I'm assuming liability because in my opinion, this foundation is totally good.
Any other questions, comments from the commission? Or action, any ideas?
Mr. Chair, this is brought as a question of where does Tanya go from here?
Certainly.
So I think a motion for her to proceed with further inspections or not would be appropriate. I'd also like a motion as to whether to record the minutes and the engineer's letter with the Register of Deeds office.
Well, I'm not sure what the purpose of recording the minutes and the exhibits with the title are at this point. One of the things is if we do the test and it gets approved later, this just clouds my title. I'm sorry, clouds Mr. Kubis's title. So, I mean, I think the issue currently before the board, and I don't mean to speak for you, but I mean,
it kind of sounds like you are, Mr. Short.
Well, it kind of sounds like I know where it's going.
Well, I understand that, but at the same time, it is, I have closed public testimony. And I think we all know what you're going to say.
But we would ask that there nothing be filed.
Thank you.
I was just going to say, I'm fine with him kind of stating,
Okay.
he's advocating at this point.
I'm fine. I'm just trying to keep order, but if you guys, the commissioners are...
I am too. A lot of money is involved here.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Short.
No, I mean, I believe that the issue before is whether or not to allow the inspections to go forward. I think that's the only issue. I don't think it's properly before the board as to what gets filed against this title. Because once you file it against the title, then we're left in a situation of undoing it. And so I would ask that we not make a problem. I guess maybe what I'm asking for is when you're in the hole, quit digging. So I think that there's a vote here that you have to make, and then I think that how we proceed after that vote, maybe I can speak with Mr. Clabrod and your planning, and we've discussed some of the other options, and maybe let us work it out before we bring it back before you.
So we get calls all the time on, was a house inspection done on my property? Can I have records? Can I have whatever for this property? If nothing is filed, it comes back to the planning department when the house resells or an inspection, or why is it noted that no footing or foundation was done? It comes back to us again to re-explain the whole process, dig up all the materials of why it went to commission, what the minutes are. There's a reoccurrence in our office for this type of a problem. So if you just file everything with the land, it just becomes clean. It goes downstairs, and there's no more question to why we did it. If my staff and I are gone in 5 years, is an interpretation for the next staff to explain why there was no inspections.
The only thing I'd say in regards to that is the Register of Deeds is not the filing system for the planning office.
Questions, comments from the commission? Let's move this along. One way or the other, continue it.
So Tanya, you need direction to know whether or not to do inspections moving forward.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to to not do inspections moving forward, because I don't think that they did the right stuff before, frankly.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor to not do inspections in the future on this property. Is there a date or a?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I understand the motion.
I do too. Thank you.
So, the motion is to support her not doing further inspections at this time. That doesn't mean that they can't come back with some resolution.
Right. Yeah. I mean, at this time, we don't know anything about this foundation. I know you're saying that it's okay, but I don't have a good feeling about it. And I think that there's enough evidence saying that we don't feel comfortable. I'm not in support of going farther, because if you guys build this house out and the foundation cracks and it falls in, that is an additional cost, right? I mean, that's the issue for me. So I'm not in favor of moving forward with it.
Again, is the motion just to support her position at this time, not to do additional inspections, but leave open the door that if they can figure something out?
Yep. There are probably options out there, but
normally our official minutes are rather brief. I believe in this case, for Aaron, I think we need extensive minutes of what has taken place here today, and pointing out some of the errors that we believe could have taken place.
So I guess, just so I understand the motion as well, I guess a motion to not do inspections would basically eliminate the ability to. So are they going to have to come back to us before they inspect, before the future inspections would occur? Because that's how I would understand it.
Yeah, I think maybe I'll rephrase my motion. I'll make a motion for planning department not to do any further inspections until resolution can be brought to the commission on the foundation inspection issues.
So they would have to come back to us to prove the foundation issues, or okay.
I will second that. I also have a question. Is there any way to pull the building permit?
Mr. Kleberhad, would you like to? Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So the only thing I would, and I appreciate those comments. Moving forward, we're going to act in good faith. So we'll stop until we get some resolution to bring back before you.
Okay.
And so I appreciate those comments. We're not those guys. Thank you.
Well, so we have a motion and second on the floor to not proceed with any future inspections from our planning department until a resolution is brought back to the county commission on the foundation issues. Okay. Is that clear with everybody on the board as well as people in the audience? Okay. Is there any discussion to that motion?
Yes, footings and foundation, because my anticipation is the actual foundation is maybe okay, but
they may both be okay.
The dirt
I
is.
want to make sure the motion's right.
Footings and foundation.
And I'm sure that's fine with Commissioner Creed. Secretary, did you get that from State's Attorney Kleberhad? Okay. Is everybody clear? And you guys are clear on what we need to do? Any more discussion on this motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
I would ask Ken at our next meeting if he could bring back the information on the ability to pull building permits. But if not saying we'd do it here, but so we'd know in the future we had some other violator. Might as well answer that question.
Okay, thank you guys for your time today. Let's go down to F2 on the planning agenda. It's a motion to set a hearing for Section line relocation, I'll just jump in here. Our notes are saying for our next meeting, which is April 8th. We have a lot on our agenda that day with boards and everything. I would suggest moving this to the first meeting in May.
I think that's a great idea.
So this is just to set the hearing, so if I could get a motion or get some action on that.
I'll make a motion to set the hearing for Section 1415 relocation for the first meeting in May at 10 o'clock.
I believe it's May 13th.
Okay, thank you.
Motion and a second on the floor to set the hearing for this section line relocation for May 13th at 10 o'clock. A lot of reasons for this. There's a lot of information that I think we need on this. Planning instructed us to only move this with taking in consideration of the drainage. So I think there's a lot of stuff that we need and a lot of stuff that we need to study for it.
Yeah,
So,
and I think it also gives the applicant time to provide that information, more so than.
any more discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Brings us down to the consent calendar. Anything on the consent anyone want to talk about? And or action?
Make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
A motion and a second to approve the consent calendar. Any discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Executive session. I believe we have some personnel issues we need to visit. Bob?
And I'd like to discuss contract as well. Make a motion to go into exec for personnel and contract.
Do I have a second?
Sure.
A motion and a second on the floor to go into exec for personnel and contract. Any discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. We're non-exec.
All.
Make a motion to come out of exec.
Motion and second, come out of exec. Any discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, same sign. Motion carries. We got just a brief moment. I think we got a new hire in the HR department. If you'd like to just come forward, Jackie and Deborah. Come on, just come on forward, please. We're already ready for you. We've been waiting.
Great.
Didn't know you were going to get put up on the hot seat.
Right away.
It's better not to tell, right? Good morning, Commissioners. So I would like to introduce Jackie Starr. She's joined us in HR as part-time, and Jackie comes to us from CCS? Yes. Yep, okay, CCS. And previous to that, Peter Lean. She has 16 years of HR experience. So a good partner for me to have in HR with, and most of her experience has been with CDL drivers and in the highway areas. So I feel like this is a good person to partner with and to kind of check to make sure we're doing all the things right in that area.
Wonderful. You have anything to say, Jackie?
Oh, come on, you're never without words.
I'm loving it so far. Different for me. I've not worked.
Sure.
Getting ready for the rally.
That too.
Well, we're happy to have you on board, and if you have a CDL, Highway could use you too, a little on your spare time. And if Deborah has spare time, you can run out there to the Highway Department.
Or you can go out and help mow the lawn or something, right?
Yeah, well, she can do that without a CDL.
I have a motorcycle license, but not a CDL.
Okay, well, it's great to have you on board. I believe this has concluded our business, and I'll just declare us adjourned.